Okay, this is the video that I wish somebody had made for me when I was studying for CeMAP, because one thing that most CeMAP students have in common is that a lot of you guys haven't studied for maybe 5, maybe 10, sometimes maybe even 20 years. Actually, my average CeMAP student that I work with tends to be anywhere in between 35 and 55, which means that we left school quite a while ago. And one thing that I wanted to combat in this video is the thought of, well, I haven't been to school in so many years, I'm probably not going to be able to do this because I haven't studied. That is absolute trash. It's not true. And I'm going to talk to you about the difference between studying as an adult and studying way back when we were in school. So it is different because when we were in school, we were 16, 17, 18, and we were pretty much living off, for me, it was Red Bull, Monster Munch, maybe a sugar come down and somebody shouting at us. But we didn't have anything else going on, in a sense of our time was our own. And that is the biggest difference between somebody who is in school and studying as an adult, is that your time is precious, because most of you will be balancing jobs and hobbies and having to feed yourself and sometimes kids, dogs, whatever it is. Actually, your time is more precious, and it does leave you at a little bit of a disadvantage because you don't have as much time to mess around like you did when you were a kid. So the simplest way to study as somebody who is returning to studying after a rather long hiatus is, first of all, to break it down into tiny, manageable chunks. If I said to you, I need you to do a chapter a day of your CeMAP textbook, if you've ever seen that thing, it's monstrous, and most of you will roll your eyes and tell me that it's never going to happen. But if I said to you, okay, I only want you to do 5 pages per day, you're going to think, oh, I could probably do 5 pages in the half an hour section that I get at this point of the day. A good 5 pages is 10 times better than a mediocre getting through a chapter when you're in a rush and you've not had a chance to make notes or use a highlighter or do any of that. So even if you are working to a timeline, have a look at your textbook. And if you think realistically, I can only do 7 pages a day, great. Now you have a time frame because you can count how many pages there are. You can divide that by 7, and that says that you will be done with the textbook in X number of days. So if you can only grab 5 or 10 minutes at a day, I promise that is still better than trying to rush through 45 minutes where you're half-arsed concentrating because you're also trying to cook a meal and clean up after a 3-year-old. So break it down into manageable chunks. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is make notes, but make them useful, not pretty. And I still do this wrong every time, because when I make notes on stuff, I like to put them on pretty little coloured post-its that I can then stick around and colour coordinate. That helps my brain because I'm dyslexic, and the colours and the differentiation help. But if you're not dyslexic, if you are just a note taker, they don't need to look pretty. They don't need to look like whatever your Pinterest board looks like. They literally need to consist of 2 things: a title and a description. Not all of them will even need a description. If it's just a prison sentence for bribery, it just needs to say, prison sentence for bribery, 10 years. That's just a title. So make them useful, but what I would say is make them so that you can take them around with you and so that somebody else can test you on them, which would mean written down as opposed to digital. And I know that is hard, but I promise the process of physically writing things just adds that extra layer of making sure that it's right and that you're going to remember it. You're more likely to remember it, because that's the next step. If you're going through it 5 pages at a time, you're making your post-its, eventually you will be done with that textbook. You will have your notes, whether that's in a book or whether that's post-it notes, you will have them, and you can start to test yourself on it. That is one of the best things that you can do to study next to exam papers. And I know that I've said this in videos previously, but I cannot stress how important this is. Mock exam papers, it is the single best thing that you can do after reading the textbook to get you exam ready. Because 50% of the battle is getting through the material. 50% of the battle is actually understanding what they want out of these exam questions, because they are not easy. So if you can get your hands on mock papers and start even just reading through the questions, not even answering the questions necessarily, actually you're going to start to get familiar with the language. Be quite careful with this step, because It's very easy to get demotivated if you read 10 questions on the bounce and you don't know the answer yet because you've not got to that part of your textbook. That's okay. What you're doing is a language learning exercise. It's not a memory exercise at this point. You're not actually sitting and taking your test. You're just getting familiar with the language. And that's your next big step. And really, that is all you need for success. Yes, you can level up. You can get somebody to do all the hard work by using something like my e-learning platform. I will link a free trial of it in the description below so that you can see it. You can even get me to drag you kicking and screaming through your exam in 6 weeks. We can do that together. But if you know that you want to study on your own, maybe on a budget with just the textbook, make it really simple. Have short sessions, 5 or 10 pages a day. 10, I would say, is more than enough. Is it going to take you a little bit longer? Yeah. But is it going to be good studying? Yes, it will be. So 5 to 10 pages a day, then break it down into your notes. Don't make them pretty, just make them useful. Get somebody else to test you on them and get your hands on some mock papers. If you want to get your hands on 899 CeMAP questions for free, these are just knowledge checkers that are really, really useful. You can also join the Facebook community that I will link in the description, or the WhatsApp community because I post them in there. But really, you can find them anywhere for free. You can always send me a message if you can't find them. If you found this video useful, please let me know in the comments how you're studying for CeMAP, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you for the next one.